All right, everyone, welcome back to another episode of there you go. Toronto Media's Show and Tell. What the hell? And a little tiny bit late in the game, but I finally was able to pick up these guys at a decent price. I picked them up actually when he came out, but this one I got on sale. Yeah, so we have Captain Jean-Luc Picard and Captain James Tiberius Kirk. And these are some very excellent, amazing, great $20 figures. And I wanted to go over this, both of them, simultaneously, because there is a lot to talk about, but not a whole bunch to talk about. And I'll explain why. Whoa, $23.99. Okay, so anyway, these I picked up actually of all places, Walgreens. Let's look at the package here. It's a shame that I'm gonna have to open these packages here because they are very nicely put together. They, yeah, see, very cool. Nice little illustrations there. Not very. They kind of save a lot of shelf space. I'm almost wondering if they weren't trying to think of like a box, like a Star Wars Black Series box. But these are meant for shelves with the little hooks on the top, right? And they make for some awesome figures. I think these are some of the best Star Trek figures I've seen in a long time. Now, when I was talking about having a lot and not a lot at the same time, I was referring to the fact that if I spend 20 minutes talking about a James T. Kirk figure, yeah, that's a little bit too much, right? So I wanted to get both captains out and kind of discuss what's going on, what some of the things I've been hearing about with Star Trek, and how I feel about the sculpts of the figures. I also wanted to compare them both too, because there are some minor gripes and issues that I'm having. Of course, being a Star Trek fan, you always got to have some sort of gripe or issue with something. But anyway, I'm going to pause this and we're going to open these guys up. And here are my boys. Yeah. Captain Kirk and Mr. Jean-Luc Picard himself. Now, let me just go over some of the accessories that these characters come with. And I am going to be putting into my accessory box because I am opting to keep them with these right here. Now, each one comes with a different hand. This is Jean-Luc's hand for holding his flute. His famous flute. I'm not going to go there. And here's Captain Kirk's grasping hand that can be used. Well, here is the rifle that appeared on... it's the phaser rifle that has a removable section right here, and very nicely detailed. It's got this nice metallic paint job, but I'm not sure if I would have wanted this as the main accessory, but pretty cool for the fans. I think it only just came out like in one episode, maybe two. I only remember it being on the first or the second pilot episode. But then there is the communicator device. No, this is a phaser. Sorry. For Picard. And, I already went over the hand. So, yeah, that's what we got here. And, of course, you got your phaser and your communicator right there with Kirk. I'm just focusing on how blurry this thing is getting. Sorry. There you go. And this was a little bit difficult to, put into the hand of Kirk, so I'm probably going to be putting one of my special little rubber band devices on there to keep it in place, which is, for something that small, it's not going to be an easy task. That's always the biggest difficulty with action figures and accessories. You lose the accessories because they can't hold it, or you move the figure around and they lose it, and sometimes they just don't got a good grip. I do have figures that have been holding onto their accessories for 10 plus years, even if I've moved them around. But anyway, I wanted to go into the sculpt of the figures, and I wanted to. And the reason I did want to do both figures at the same time again is that like I wanted to compare um, the sculpts. But first of all, let's do the articulation. Very articulated for Star Trek figures, if not some of the most articulated Star Trek figures that you'll ever see. You get a arm swivel, elbow up and down. You get the hand swivel. You get a little where you can. Oh, can you do that? Yeah, you can actually put the wrist in. You could do the wrist in like that or wrist out. Not the best in there. If you look at the connection, I was having a hard time taking it out to replace the hand earlier. So you want to kind of heat it up a little bit before. Make sure you're not in a very cold area where the plastic starts, where you run the risk of the plastic actually breaking. And you get, right there, you get some shoulder ups and downs, back and forth. The head, it's on a ball joint. You can move it around. Oh, yes. Oh, yes, Beverly. And, of course, I opted for his pointing finger, his engage, or make it so. You get some, you can make him dance like that if you want it. Now, what's interesting is that unlike the Marvel Legends, these are kind of like the DC Direct figures where they get these kind of, you get the up and downs right here with the legs. But look at the joints that they have here. I started seeing these with some of those DC figures and some other figures, I think with the Diamond Select figures, that they didn't want to hinder the sculpt as much and keep it looking like, if you squint, that he has pants and not like a weird ball joint thing going on there. So you can still move him like that. And you want to give him a more dramatic pose, you can. But here's the problem I'm having. He's got that weird, I don't know, his face sculpt looks slightly off. Certain angles, it looks a lot like Picard. Certain angles, it does. Other angles, it doesn't. It's kind of weird. Now, the shape of the head, when you look at it right there, it looks like him. He looks a little bit like a Vulcan right there. But as you turn it, you start seeing more and more Picard, and then you start losing it. So that's my problem with this figure. It looks like Picard, but sometimes it doesn't. It's funny, though, because he's got a little bit of a smirk on this end here, and a little bit of a frown on that end, a little more of a serious look. So if you want your Kirk to look more happy, you could pose him slightly this way. If you want him to look a little bit more concerned, that way. Otherwise, I think it's great. Now, I wouldn't be as picky. Oh yeah, it also comes with a nice little base right here. I wouldn't be so picky about the way the Star Trek characters looked if the next one wasn't so good. My God. This is the best Captain Kirk figure I've ever seen in my life. This looks so much like Shatner. And that's the only reason that I am critical about this sculpt right here. Look at this. This is just amazing. Even if you're not like a Star Trek fan, you would recognize that this is exactly like Shatner. You see, now they have the technology to actually go in and scan someone's face, and I don't know if they did that with Picard, but they could not do that with Shatner. This is just a great sculpt. This is a lot of just artistry and craftsmanship in this. Now, the emblem is a little bit off here. I want to say that usually the emblems are stitched on the original series, and this looks more like it's coming out. There's just something a little bit off looking about that. A lot of details. Really good job. I mean, for $20 figures, this is amazing. Boots are shiny. Same kind of articulation as Picard. But here's, I'm just going to get another look, give you all another look at that face there. One more time there. Oh, let's zoom in there. I'm on a planet where there doesn't seem to be any intelligent life except for a man. Yeah, I can have fun with this forever. This, yeah, these are okay. Stand. For some reason, my camera. There you go. So yeah, just was it McFarlane Toys that put these out? Yes, McFarlane Toys that put this out, and I just wanted to point out a little, like in the back of the box, you get these prototypes that look very similar to the end result, right? Now, here's the other thing that kind of worries me a little bit. Those two characters are coming soon, Michael Burnham and Spock. Now, I hope they're coming soon. I hope Spock is coming soon. I'll just say it like that. I'm worried because there's a lot of backlash over the Discovery show. There's a lot of questionable rumors. There's a lot of people saying things that perhaps this isn't the same canon. Now, because I'm not going to go into it, but this, if you check out the Midnight's Edge, they do actually do a lot. Midnight's Edge did a pretty comprehensive story on how the two on issues with Paramount, Viacom, and CBS, and Bad Robot, and how the Prime universe apparently isn't the canon universe, the actual Prime universe, and they use the word Prime to deceive us. So, yeah, there's a lot of issue now. That it's all because of merchandising rights as well. So it just I understand the blaster is not going to be showing. There wasn't on anything on Toy Fair that I can recall. Though I do hope we get more. I'm happy if we just get these two. I'm really happy with these, but man, I would really like to see Spock and Bones. And especially if their faces are as good as this. I'd love to see a Data as well, and a Worf. So I think they really need to get on the ball and get those characters out of the way. Oh my god, wouldn't it be awesome to get a Uhura? And maybe a Scotty with a little, I don't know, what can he come with? A Tribble? Yeah, and that's the problem with Star Trek though too. Is that there's so many good characters that you want to get to, and unfortunately, you're not going to get to all of them. You know, Mego can do some Star Trek figures, but you're not going to get them all. The closest that we got to was Playmates. Where Playmates just had, I don't know how many, just, you know, it's what seemed to be like hundreds of figures out throughout the 90s, and covering all bases and getting the majority of the Star Trek figures, accessories. So I seriously doubt that McFarlane Toys is looking to do that. I think we're lucky to get these right here, and why not get some of the core characters out of the way. Now, just for fun, I'm going to bust out Raphael and see how big he is compared to... There you go. That seems like about right. He seems a little bit tall, too. No? Wow. Maybe a little bit hair shorter. I don't know. But yeah, these are great figures. I would highly recommend them if you're a Star Trek collector. And if you just are an action figure collector and you like pop culture and vague references to stuff, but you want a cool figure to hang out with some of your X-Men or some of your Ninja Turtles or whatever, and you have these iconic characters hanging out in the background as well. But I'd be interested to see what you guys think. Now, that's the problem with scale, too. I mean, with Playmates, those were simpler times. You can get a figure for about $6, $7, a Playmates Star Trek figure, which allowed you to get a whole bunch. You can get all the characters that you want. You can get representations. Were they as detailed and articulated as these? No way. In fact, the market value for those has not really budged much, but they may in the future. I got boxes and boxes and boxes of those from collecting from years, so I'd like to bust them out eventually because I do think there's a lot of standalone, or not standalone, but just figures that stood out. I want to say Locutus of Borg was one of my favorites, and all the Klingons were awesome as well. It enabled them to actually, you know, they weren't so detailed where you can actually reuse parts, and it saved them on a lot of tooling costs back then, I'd imagine. But those were great figures as well. You know, the Playmates Star Trek. So I'd say hold on to those. You know, I see a lot of people at flea markets trying to get rid of them at a cheap price. So I'd say go and buy them. Those are great representations. You can get a whole bunch of them. Unfortunately, with these figures, you will not. You probably won't. You will probably get. We may get a Spock. It seems like it may be like a 50-50. I don't believe when figures are going to come out, and especially with the kind of difficulty that we were seeing. If we get a Spock, I'm not so sure we're going to get Bones or Scotty, which is a real shame. Because I'd like to get the entire bridge crew at the very least for both. I mean, I would actually really love a Deanna Troi figure. Anyway, guys, but this is my little Star Trek review. I hope you like the new background, the new diorama. This does pass for very Star Trek-y kind of. Maybe you could put this there and make it seem like they're hiding. Now, if you do remember, Kirk and Picard did meet once in a movie that a lot of fans would love to take out of the canon, but and pretend that it didn't ever happen in Star Trek Generations. But anyway, guys, let me actually take a picture of that there. Boom. Hope you enjoyed watching this, and thanks again for checking out. Thanks for commenting. I like responding to your comments, especially when I'm really bored at work. So anyway, we'll see you next time. I hope to see more Star Trek. We will see you later on.